If Woody had gone right to the police, this would never have happened.
Uh-oh.
So the art is being taken like there's going to be an increased amount of shit talk.
Well, thank God you're with your core accounts.
Yeah.
Get my shit.
I have to remind myself I'm here willingly.
Catch one with a little bit of attitude, big guy.
Man, you champion son.
It's a kangaroo court.
How is the NFL a kangaroo court?
Could you please let me explain why?
No, I don't want to hear this garbage. Give me an answer to the questions I asked you.
What the fuck are we doing? You represent something bigger than yourself.
Come on, baby!
Let's
go, Buffalo.
Talk to you later.
They are fucking right. Undertaker.
I hate it. I'm out.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollos, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, and welcome into another edition of Third and Manageable. I am your host tonight, Matt Diegert, and as always, the newest member, the oldest member of the of Third and Manageable, we got Pat Bruknis, and our third man tonight is MIA. Unfortunately, he's feeling under the weather tonight, so we wish him well, and he'll be back next week. He might even join me on the post game tomorrow. We'll definitely see what's going on and see how he's holding up, but we'll definitely see what we can do with that. But tonight we're going to talk about the Bills, the Ravens, that epic matchup, like craziness already in week one of the football season. A little bit of Highmark magic that they had, a little bit of that fairy dust sprinkled on that game here in the final season at Highmark. So Pat, how you doing tonight? Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me how you're feeling after that game. Tell me anything.
Yeah, I'm doing. Hopefully, Student feels better, and maybe he joins us here shortly. Who knows? But yeah, after that game, for me, week one always starts off as like an extended preseason game, especially in the first half. It's kind of like, okay, football's back. Let me readjust to that. There was no doing that in this game. The first drive, Josh Allen came out with like a man on a mission. He looks very determined to prove why he won the MVP. Not that he had to, put it out there why he won the MVP, but it looks like he wanted to do that. And from that, especially from the start of the third quarter, it's like it finally clicked for me that football is back. And I was just, I'm like, all right, now find a way to win this game. I'm over the preseason now. The rust is off. I'm in midseason form. Just go get a W. And thankfully, they did it. And I'm glad that we are finally on the right side of a all-time game.
It felt great to actually be on the right side of that. We saw 13 seconds. We saw wide. Well, I saw wide right. A lot of Bills fans saw wide right. But we did. A lot of Bills fans got to experience the comeback, the greatest comeback of all time. And there's been a few sprinkles here and there, but it feels like as we've gone through the Bills history, specifically at Highmark Stadium, the Ralph Rich Stadium, whatever you want to call it, there's been more of the latter than the good stuff. So we'll definitely see. But we Andre Reed was the legend of the game, and he talked about it before and everything like that. The resiliency of the Buffalo Bills, and to see how resilient they were against the Ravens, it truly made. And that's the thing, with the Ravens, we talked about it last week. You can't really, there's no way to really stop them. You got to kind of contain them. And they did. They got enough stops. They got enough. They got a fumble from Derrick Henry that he doesn't typically fumble. His last fumble was lost was 2023 with the Titans. So that guy does not fumble. He holds on to the ball. We see what his work, and it's crazy to think that quick little thing by Ed Oliver knocking the ball out was what cost them the game. And, it really did. And once that momentum shifted, it was all Buffalo, all downhill from there for the Ravens. So
it was. And that's one thing that, you and Student both have said in the past. Momentum is a real thing. A lot of people don't realize it, watching at home. But if you're inside the stadium, you can feel a momentum switch. In that fourth quarter, once Ed Oliver stripped that ball out, you felt like all the momentum in the world was on Buffalo's side. And that's when, we saw the fourth quarter Josh Allen. And Chris Collinsworth actually said it best, which I actually don't agree with a lot of his takes. Just like where he said Ed Oliver made the Pro Bowl tonight. That was a game. That's a career game for Ed Oliver. Unfortunately, he is dealing with that injury, which we'll talk about shortly.
Yep.
But for him to be disruptive in the, in the passing game and, stopping the run, manhandling Derrick Henry in the backfield is not an easy task. He stopped him before he got going, which is key, which we didn't do often on Sunday night, but Ed Oliver did it there. And, taking on double teams, we've always said if Ed Oliver has a decent defensive tackle running mate with him, we'll see this, why Ed Oliver was the 9th overall pick. Right. Now, between Deion Walker, TJ Sanders, Daquan Jones, one of these guys are going to do it for Ed Oliver. They're going to clear up Ed Oliver. And, Joey Bosa and Greg Rousseau each having good games as well. I really liked what I saw from the defensive line, especially from Ed Oliver.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into that stuff here in a little bit. I do want to touch on a couple of things first, not to give too much away, but we'll go into our breakdown of the Ravens game here in a few minutes. Yep. We're gonna real quickly. I wanted to pivot to Thursday night football to kind of touch on that a little bit. Not that it really matters to the Bills fans or anything like that, but it was still a good game from the Packers side of things. Jaden Daniels is starting to look like Jaden Daniels is having a sophomore slump, which a lot of people said that, they don't think he's going to, but that Packers defense, man, it was good before, and they added Micah Parsons to it, and he had a half a sack himself. So,
I mean, Jaden Daniels is looking like CJ Stroud's second year. Is that fair to say?
I think we're a little too early into it because they basically faced two very good defenses. Because I do think the Giants have a good defense. They just can't get out of their own way on offense, which makes zero sense as to why Brian Daboll is still putting his job on the line with Russell Wilson and not switching to Jackson Dart and letting him kind of grow a little bit.
It's a weird hill to die on, especially with Brian Daboll it was a main part in Josh Allen's development. Mm-hmm. And, some people compare Jackson Dart to Josh Allen with, his mobility, his escapability, and he has an arm on him too. So you think you want to groom the young quarterback, in a year where you're not expecting to make the playoffs. Let's just be real for a second. Your defense is playoff caliber. Your offense isn't. But yeah, so I don't know why. And
that's
Russell Wilson Hill. I don't know.
And that's really what it comes down to is I think that he's now faced two really, really good defenses, and the Packers defense looks. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. They look Super Bowl ready. Like if Jordan Love can get out of his own way and stop putting hospital balls out there for his players, they may make a deep run into the playoffs this year. But the Packers ended up winning that game 27-18. I wish that they would get Matthew Golden involved a little bit more for my fantasy wise, but that's a little selfish. But they're honestly looking really good. The Packers are 2-0, and the Commanders are 1-1. So,
I do want to say one thing very quick though on the Packers. I see people on social media, especially in the comment section of that, posting that Packers defensive line looks like the cold front. That's what they're calling it. Or they're calling them the Winter Soldiers. You got to find some different names. Josh Allen's the Winter Soldier, and the cold front is the old Buffalo Bills defensive line with Kyle Williams, Mario Williams, and some other names, just some names to mention.
Jerry Hughes, Marcel Darius.
Jerry Hughes, yes.
There you go. Let's finish it off the right way.
Yeah, right? That's the cold front. Now you guys have a good defensive line, but find a different name. Come up with something original. Just like the MetLife
And you're in Wisconsin, not to dox you a little bit, but you're in Wisconsin. Yep. What have you heard around there just kind of being out and about just in Wisconsin about the Packers?
Yeah. What I've heard about the Packers is that, they're very high. They expect to win their division. They're very high on Jordan Love. They're trying to say that he's going to take that next leap. And I hear some Packers in that Jordan Love's going to be in the MVP conversations this year. I think that's a stretch, but they are very high, and they expect this team to make a deep run in the playoffs. And they have a hatred for the Buffalo Bills for some reason. Very, very weird.
Who knows? Who knows? It's probably because they have a difficult time beating the Buffalo Bills. It's probably why.
I know you had Aaron Rodgers in his prime. Couldn't win in Buffalo. But yeah, no, seriously though, they're very high. They obviously they hate Vikings fans just as much as they hate Bears fans, and they want to sweep Minnesota. And they expect to be a top 3 seed. Just from people that I've talked to at work, whatever, just out and about, they expect to be a pretty high seed, if not the 1 seed.
Good. I could definitely see them being a higher seed. I don't know if I would go as far as the 1 seed.
No, I wouldn't.
But they made the Lions look pedestrian, and we don't know yet because it was only week 1, and you can never trust week 1. Week 1's typically a liar. But the Lions themselves, they went up against that Packers defense and looked pedestrian. We don't know whether that's losing Ben Johnson or whether that's the way that they're going to look this year, or that was just the way that teams are going to look against the Packers defense. Which very well could be.
To speak on just the Lions just very briefly, excuse me. So when we saw the Eagles 2 years ago, after their first Super Bowl appearance with Jalen Hurts, they lost both coordinators, made the playoffs the following year, but got bounced against Tampa Bay, which was Jason Kelsey's final year. I could see a similar season for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Losing both coordinators, that's an adjustment period. Yeah. We know about losing your offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. More so offensive coordinator, but still.
It's a tough thing to lose. So at this point right now, I do want to kind of pivot to going into the Ravens game. We can talk about it real quickly. Alabama today looked really good against Wisconsin. There's a player in Wisconsin. They're number 8. I can't remember his last name right now, but I think he's he's somebody that needs to be watched. Ryan Williams is somebody that needs to be watched for sure. Yes. Except he needs to fix his hands. That's really what it comes down to. The other game I watched was the Pittsburgh game, and I cannot believe that the Pitt Panthers lost that game. I could not believe that actually happened. Because they were up by 10. They were up by 10. Yeah, they were up by 24-14 at one point, and then they went into overtime and ended up losing 31-24. Well,
I'll say one game I was watching was the number 6 Georgia Bulldogs on the road at number 15 Tennessee, and Georgia won it in overtime to go to 3-0 and push Tennessee to 2-1.
Go Dogs!
What about them Dogs? That I love their fight song. What's that coming down the track? Such a good song. Good rally song, fight song, whatever you want to call it.
All right, and then
the game I watched today.
Yeah, and the other one that I had some interest in before I hopped on here is the Buckeyes. They are beating Ohio 30-9 right now. There's 14-14 left in that game. They're in the fourth quarter. But yeah, I mean, OH baby, OH.
OHIO.
Yes, sir.
Oh man.
Yep.
I'll still hold it over your head how we beat you guys on New Year's Eve and going into New Year's Day. Ball right through the upright as the ball drops.
Oh well.
Yeah.
The Buckeyes were the national champions. Cry about it.
Yep.
But anyways, let's pivot to some of the things that we saw from the Ravens game, Ravens and Bills, and kind of go over that a little bit. I want to start with the fourth quarter. Obviously, you don't start a game with the fourth quarter, but I want to start talking about that fourth quarter. Specifically, Josh Allen playing like a man among boys. I mean, just the ability to stand tall through everything that team went through. He had the 4th highest all-time yards in the fourth quarter at 251 yards, which is absolutely ridiculous. He had 4 total touchdowns. 3 of them in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, and he went 16 for 21 in the fourth quarter alone. I mean, that was Josh Allen's fourth quarter performance was better than I believe the stat said 26 other quarterbacks in week 1 total. Josh Allen did better numbers in just the fourth quarter alone. That's why he is the reigning MVP, and that's why he is the best quarterback in the NFL currently.
Yeah,
His ability to take over a game is magnificent.
Yeah, I mean, and you see it when he wants to take everything that he wants, he's going to just take it. And I'm glad the defense was able to stand up on those last couple of drives. I mean,
yes,
we talked a little bit about Ed Oliver already, but for as bad of a game that everybody played on the defensive side of the ball, minus a couple of players, Ed Oliver specifically. I mean, the Bills themselves, they held Zay Flowers was doing whatever the hell he wanted to, but he's literally the only one that did anything for the Ravens in the passing game.
Well,
you had a rookie cornerback starting his first game, and they gave up, not counting Zay Flowers, they gave up 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 receptions the entire game between him and Benford, not counting Zay Flowers. Because he had seven for 143 himself. And he, after they came out at halftime, he was really just doing whatever the heck he wanted to. And I'm glad that they, in that fourth quarter, they got those basically 3 stops to end the game and never gave the ball.
And that's one thing I'll say about it. When you look at that, going back to the AFC Championship game that I don't like going back to because it's a new season, but I think that did not sit right with Josh Allen. That left a bad taste in his mouth. He had 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go down the field and get this team to a Super Bowl. He didn't do it. As much as we want to blame Kincaid, it's on Josh Allen as well, and I've came to realize that. I still blame Kincaid a lot, but still, you're the quarterback. You got to diagnose the defense the right way. I know he shedded the protection to the left side, not the right side, I believe. So now you see Josh Allen. What do you do in the fourth quarter? Will this team to a victory? And I think, like we said, he's a man on a mission right now.
He is. I think that he came out and played, even from the word go. He came out and played, like I said, a man among boys, and even that first drive, it literally looked like he wanted to shove everything from the offseason down the Ravens' throat.
Yes.
He went to Kincaid on that touchdown, and that ball was truly one of his best throws that he's ever made to Kincaid, because he had to fit it in there. And he still made that throw, and Kincaid caught it, and it was 7-0 real quickly.
It was,
then it went to it became what, 10-7 and then 17-7, and that it just kind of almost got away. But the funny thing is, if you go back and look, it never got more than, I think, 15 or 16 points of a difference.
Right? No, it never did.
So, always within earshot or within range for the Bills to be able to take advantage of any mistakes the Ravens made. And fortunately, they made those mistakes in the fourth quarter. And Lamar Jackson was cramping, and they couldn't go for it on fourth down. Who knows how that goes, because Lamar said that if he wasn't cramping, they were going to be going for it. So who knows? But at that point, who's to say that they don't stop them for a 6-yard loss in the backfield?
Exactly. You're playing hypotheticals at that point.
Exactly. So let's kind of before we kind of move on, Pat, to more in-depth things within this game. Do you have any thoughts as a whole on the game itself?
Yeah, just the fact that, Sean McDermott preaches on fundamentals. And I saw a fun stat on ESPN before the game on Sunday night. The Bills have not lost a turnover battle in 22 consecutive games. That streak continued on Sunday night, and it just so happened to win them the game. So the Bills continue to play fundamental football, and the Bills are one of those teams, kind of like Kansas City, where they don't care how they win, it's if they win. That's the only thing that matters. And that's, Josh doesn't care if he puts up, if he throws 5 picks in the game and they win, because a win's a win.
Well, and that's what it comes down to. And anybody wants to, and that's why, I might have been in the moment when I did some of my tweets and things like that. But
I want to talk on
it comes down to it because, like, I'm sorry, you don't sit, like, I get it. You did not play in that game, but shut up and play. Like, you're literally like,
I'm here now.
yeah, get out of here. I'm sorry. It's just real quickly, Robbie, how are we doing tonight?
What's up, Robbie?
Thank you for hopping in. Julie, thank you for hopping in. Definitely appreciate you guys. But again, like, I'm sorry, like, that's something. Play all 60 minutes, like, before you start celebrating. Like, I'm sorry, I think you're a loser if you're celebrating more than just, hey, I made a touch, or I scored a touchdown, right? Cool. I'm gonna do my little dance in the end zone, and I'm gonna get off the field after I give the ball to the ref. Cool. Like, it might be a little bit of old school in me, but, like,
no, you're right. I even feel that way.
Like, I'm all for having fun. Honestly,
right.
On the field, have fun. But that took it a little bit too far. And
it did.
And karma got him. I'm sorry to tell you. Karma got you. You lost the game 41-40, and now we have memes of you being an idiot,
I do want to say one thing about that is when you look at Baltimore's standpoint, they had all the, motivation in the world. This team bounced you. This is your final game. Besides the preseason, you played this team in your back-to-back meaningful games was against this team, and you couldn't do it. Your quarterback's supposed to be better than Buffalo's quarterback. And you guys said, if Mark Andrews didn't drop that ball with a minute 20, we still would have beat you guys. If he would have caught that ball, blah, 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 you guys weren't going to score in a minute 26. We went down the field with a minute 26 with no timeouts just before half, or, a minute 30. Yeah, no, minute 26 coming for the fourth quarter, the minute 33 in the playoff game. Then you guys said, Zay Flowers. We didn't have Zay Flowers. Next time we have Zay Flowers, we beat you guys by 10. You couldn't do it. You guys didn't just do it. You guys had a 15-point lead with 4 minutes left. And couldn't do it.
357 to be exact.
357. Now, what does that do because football is just as much mental as it is physical. From a mental standpoint, you gave the team your best shot, and Buffalo didn't play their best game defensively at all.
No.
So if you're Baltimore, I want to know what in the meeting, how do we beat this team?
Like, honestly,
play their best game.
Honestly, real quick though, Pat, like, let's be serious. They've played them now 3 times in the last 3 years in the regular season.
Yeah.
They've had a comeback in 2 out of the 3 games. The Bills have. Yeah. So and we're not talking small comeback. Like, what was it, 21-3? The first
20-3 in Baltimore.
Yeah, it was 20-3 in Baltimore. And then last year, if Joe Brady doesn't call that stupid trick play, the momentum was all on the Bills, and they were most likely going to at least come back and make a better game of that. And we're not talking about. Yeah, we might still be talking about 199 yards for Derrick Henry, and how the Bills are going to stop him this year. But we might be talking about a Bills victory and them not being able to close out games.
That's a real thing.
And if we want to be serious, not to get too much into the weeds or anything like that, but they want to complain about, the year that they felt that Lamar Jackson was the MVP. And last year, Lamar deserved it as well because he had the best stats in the NFL. Technically, Dak Prescott had the best stats in the NFL the year prior, and he should have won the MVP if that's what it was based on, not Josh Allen. If we want to be serious, if we want to take a step back from any homerism or anything like that, if you want to go by stats, simply pure stats, Dak Prescott was the quarterback that should have won it that year, but it wasn't. Most valuable player is the most valuable to their team. That's it. That's the way it goes. Offensive player of the year is the guy with the best stats on the other side. So,
right, and I agree with that. But the one thing I will say about that is going back not last year, but the year prior when Lamar won the MVP, we all felt Josh should have, because I still felt like Josh was more valuable to his team than Lamar Jackson is to Baltimore. No disrespect to Lamar Jackson, he's a phenomenal talent. Mm-hmm. But how can you be the MVP when you have a running back that's rushed for 2,000 yards? What did Josh Allen have 2 years ago? He willed his team up from a 6-5 record all the way to the playoffs and got the 2 seed in a year when they said Buffalo is down and out.
Mm-hmm.
With a slightly torn UCL, by the way.
Yeah, so I'm done talking about that. I'm glad that we don't see Baltimore until probably the playoffs this year again.
Yeah.
But to kind of get a little bit more in depth into the game, let's talk about the Bills defense versus the Ravens offense a little bit. So what did you see specifically that concerned you moving forward? And is it more of a concern, or is it just how good the Ravens offense is?
I think it's more
because
how good.
They truly are a unicorn. Their offense is truly a unicorn. It really is.
It is. And what I want to say is more how good Baltimore's rushing attack is. And coming out of the preseason where where the Bills starters did not play, besides that first game, they played what was it, 3 or 4 drives? They played basically a quarter. Let's just leave it at that. And you saw the Bills, from the beginning get beat up front in the rushing attack. We did a pretty good job in, pass rush situations, but stopping the run, it felt like the holes were just there. And that was without a Patrick Ricard. So that does worry me a little bit. But at the same time, I want to say I don't want to take anything away from what Baltimore did, because yes, they did have a good rushing performance, between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. But I do want to say, Priest not playing in the preseason did play a factor in that, maybe just a little bit. But one thing I did see, though, was, kind of the rust with Joey Bosa to start the game, especially on the option plays with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is very good at holding the ball until the final second on option plays, where if he sees the edge kind of take a step in, he's going to take it to the outside. And we saw that countless times from Lamar Jackson on Sunday night. Then as the game went on, it felt like the Bills finally caught their footing in the rushing attack. Somewhat caught their footing in the rushing attack, what I should say. You saw Joey Bosa, play more like that veteran and not biting on that, holding his lane, making Lamar Jackson hand it off to Derrick Henry. And, sometimes when Lamar did take it, Joey Bosa was right there. He didn't catch Lamar Jackson because it's very hard to catch Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
But they did a better job containing him in the second half. So I do want to say it's a factor of how good Baltimore's rushing attack is in mixing some rust.
Right. And I mean, that's even without Patrick Ricard. I mean, being there blocking everything up. Maybe that's why Ed Oliver had as good of a game as he did, because you don't have Patrick Ricard to, kind of keep Ed Oliver out of the backfield like that. But, they had 238 yards rushing, and 170 was 170 of those yards were from Derrick Henry, and what was it? 170 of those yards were from Derrick Henry, and 70 of them were from Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, they averaged 8.6 yards per play as well. So, I mean, overall, defensively, not just from a defensive line standpoint, but I truly do believe that the most important position on the defense is the defensive line. Because you have a good defensive line, you help out your corners. Because, again, corners and safeties play reactionary football. They don't know what the opposing team is running, and it cleans up your linebackers. Because if your defensive linemen are getting beat, if your defensive linemen are getting beat, the offensive linemen are going to beat your defensive linemen and then go to the second level and take on the linebackers. And that's why the Ravens had success in the rushing game.
All right. And real quickly, we are going to move on to the injury report. And I want to welcome a special guest at this point real quickly. Hi, Doctor. How are we tonight?
What's up, Doctor?
Oh, I'm so nervous.
How we doing?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm feeling really eager.
Okay. Why?
How about you guys?
Why are you feeling eager tonight?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I was a little anxious about getting on and then going to the game tomorrow.
Oh.
Well, have fun in New Jersey. Have fun in New Jersey.
It's going to stink.
Oh, I'm sure it will. So with that being said, we had a very large injury report and kind of growing as the week is going on. So how are you feeling about the injury report right now, especially at Oliver?
Ed Oliver is quite tricky, huh? So he's in a boot. It doesn't look good. Schefter said a couple weeks. I think there's a huge conspiracy to it, but I wouldn't expect him back now that he's not going on the IR. It appears, because we got past 4:00 today. That bodes well. So I'd say at least out today or tomorrow, and then the Dolphins. And then I still think he's going to be out for the Saints, assuming it's like a high ankle. So if it's a low ankle sprain, you guys know the guys come back in about a week or two. They're not going to put him in a boot and a scooter, and that's more in line with a high ankle sprain. Now there is a chance because assuming they're telling us the truth and he was stepped on. You can imagine someone stepping on the outside of your ankle going inward. Now, generally, with a rotation to that, that's a high ankle sprain. But if there was no rotational component, it's a medial ankle sprain, which is in between your usual low lateral and your high.
Okay.
So those are like 1 to 2 weeks, maybe 3 at the most. It would be like a baby high ankle. Let's just call it that. So if that's the case, then I'll see you in the Saints game. But I am going to bed feeling like we won't see him until the Patriots week 5.
And I'm perfectly fine with that. We saw the Dolphins, how bad that they were last week against the Colts. We know that week 1 is typically a liar, but I think that the Dolphins are going to be at the bottom of the division this year. I think that they just need to tank and figure out their stuff and go from there. And I think the Saints are in the same kind of position. I think they're going to be fighting the Dolphins for the bottom of the NFL. I'm perfectly fine with those guys sitting out and kind of getting healthy. But specifically, I have it pulled up on the screen right now. A lot of these guys came back on Thursday in full participation. Christian Benford, Brandon Codrington, Keon Coleman with the groin. Can you go into that a little bit as to what is going on with that? Do you know?
In regards to what players?
Keon Coleman for his groin. Like what? Because I know you were talking about it earlier in the offseason, and then it popped back up here recently. So do you know much about that?
So Keon, you might be mistaken, but Keon didn't show up or was on the radar until last week. He was on the injury report. He was able to played the most snaps in one game of his career. Not the highest snap share, but because they ran so many plays, it was the most. So if they were riding with him that much, I would assume he's quite healthy. But there were reports that he was dealing with this going back to camp. So it's got to be more of like a nagging, you can say tendonitis, but you really don't get tendonitis in your groin. Usually something's going on potentially with a sports hernia, a low grade, or some type of hip impingement that's irritating the groin area. A lot of guys can play through that. Those eventually chew up your labrum, but it's a quick, easy fix in the off season where they just kind of shave down the bone a little bit to give him some more space. But we'll see if he gets to that point. But it might just be some soreness. Could have strained his groin, and it just didn't fully recover, and it's a little temperamental. That would be more with the muscular tenderness. But
how do they fix something like that?
Well, when it's acute, which sounds like more like what happened to Trey, because the reports were that he pulled up lame and he was hobbling. So if you guys ever ran and pulled a muscle, kind of feels like a little twinge or a gunshot goes off in your leg there. And those ones you got to rest right away. So you got to shut those down. And it's about a week to 10 days. And then they'll start stretching, rubbing it down and then strengthen it back up. And then once you get to a point where it's generally healthy, a guy walking around, you can't see any limp in him, then you start phasing back into the sport activity, which I'm just going to piggyback on that. So Trey was out for quite a bit. Obviously, it was more severe than Benford's groin, if it really was a groin he was dealing with. And then, he just started to get reintroduced to practice this week. I know it seems like he's probably healthy. Benford came back a week before. But Dorian Strong had a good game, which doesn't really press him to come, and it's early in the season. And I feel like Trey alluded to that in his interview. He said that, you got to get your conditioning back up and ease back into things. There's no rush when it's this early. So I thought that alluded to like they're getting his feet underneath him this week, and then they'll unleash him at home, which would be more fitting for him also to come back under the home crowd with another couple of days rest and more practices.
And specifically on Jordan Hancock's shoulder, specifically, can you tell me a little bit about what's going on with that? as far as because we know it popped up during the what was it, the second preseason game?
Yeah.
Or the third one? Yeah.
Yeah, so he went down, tackled someone, took a direct blow to his shoulder. Generally, those are AC joint sprains. That's like the tip of your shoulder here. I mean, everyone plays through an AC joint sprain in football. The high grade ones where it like pops up like a piano key. If you're a thrower, you get those fixed, like Johnson over there with the Colts. But generally, players, play through it after they rest. If you ever seen a picture of Jordan Poyer with his shirt off, it's pretty freakish. He let those go pretty bad. So that's what I assumed was the injury. Then he did a post-game interview, and he had tape over the area, which means he's probably suffered from some AC joint sprains in the past. And then this Nick Sabato commented on my post, and he's like, "Oh, it was a stinger." And he's been dealing with that since college, which, again, they're in the kind of the same region. One's, a point tender injury, AC joint. Stingers when your head gets shifted and you get a zinger into your arm. That's more of like a staticky, radicular pain. But in regards to that, I still think it was an AC joint. And sometimes like the medical jargon gets mixed up, and sometimes guys have a little bit of combos. But it looks like it popped back up. And again, you can play through it. A lot of guys do. It's actually going to be a numbers game with him because, he was inactive and healthy last week. So I don't even know if it matters. McDermott, in his little interview on Friday mornings, alluded that they expect him to be good to go. So I would say that bodes well for him. But interestingly, even though the Ed Oliver, we said he got stepped on in practice on Wednesday, it's just kind of funny. McDermott kind of came out to try to light a fire under the team, said, let's go full pads Wednesday. Ed Oliver gets hurt. I keep saying allegedly because I still think he had a horse accident at home because he did an interview after practice. But anyways, Hancock also was hurt on Wednesday. So I just thought that was kind of ironic. And then they go walk through Thursday, Friday, almost like he's like, oh, damn, that bit us in the ass. So I don't know. I don't know what the locker room's thinking. Like, oh, he was trying to be a tough guy, and now he's backing off because guys got hurt, which is like kind of embarrassing in a way.
So we got two more for you here, and we'll let you get to bed so you can be up there in New Jersey quickly tomorrow morning. So real quickly, Xavier, saw you talk about Xavier Worthy a little bit on Twitter. What's going on with that? Like, and is he? I don't want to say dumb, but is he dumb for not getting it fixed, like, and trying to play through it?
No, he's not dumb. There's different levels. All right, let's take it from the top. So there's two different types of words that get mixed up. There's a shoulder separation, that's an AC joint, and then there's dislocation. Dislocation is far more severe. That's when the head of your humerus pops out of your socket. So your arm's out and it has to get reduced, like pop back in. So when that happens, obviously you stretch out ligaments. That's why it's slipped out. But then it can tear labrum and it can chip off bone on the head of the the head of the humerus. It's the ball that sits in the socket. So for him to start practicing this week, which means he had one of the most mild cases of a shoulder dislocation. So the labrum, it might be a little ripped, but it's not peeled off. And then obviously there was no bone damage, which when these things happen, the ball slips out a lot easier. Generally speaking, athletes who have dislocated under 25 years old, get them fixed. Can you play through the season with a harness? Hope it doesn't happen again. Yes. Is wide receiver a really tough position to do that? Absolutely. It's one of the hardest because you need the catch radius. I get it. He's a speedster, gadget kind of guy, but he's also going to get hit too, which doesn't bode well. So, falling on an outstretched arm are all things that can kind of redislocate your shoulder. If it happens again, he's out. They'll just shut it down. But it's interesting that they're letting him go back in. Now, the injury itself did not look like your regular shoulder dislocation. Usually that's when your arm gets caught up out here. Imagine me falling onto the ground and it getting pinned back here. Things like that usually pop it out, like the high five position. he kind of just got barreled into from the side, which was odd, which would think more AC joint, less separation, like I said. And now the screen kind of cuts off, and after he runs into Kelsey, he kind of like flails. His arm does go up, but like when he's in midair, like in the fall sequence. So maybe he whipped his arm up so fast it popped out. That's the only thing I can think of. Or it's a big misconception and it's a separation, not a dislocation. But the way the trainers were working on him, I didn't see the live video. I'm not going to lie, I was watching a movie with the family. But I've seen clips, and it does look like when he's bent over, the trainer is traction in his arm, which means like kind of pulling it out, like pulling it down towards the floor while he's bent over, and that negative pressure helps it slide back in. It like rattles back in. So, moral of the story: I have no faith Worthy's going to finish the season if he had a dislocation. And I think they're trying to get him back quick because they know how important it is to keep pace here before Rashee Rice gets back. When Rice gets back, they're probably just like, you pop it out again, shut it down. We got to get through these next 5 weeks. They're looking down the barrel, going 0-2, which is huge.
I mean, they could be 0-5. They could be 0-5. Like we were talking about it. We were talking about they could legitimately be 0-5. Before Rashee Rice gets back, and it's crazy to me. So. Also, I think everybody in Buffalo last week on Sunday night was on the injury report in some way, shape, or form. How is your heart after that game, that Baltimore game last week?
The Baltimore game. It's interesting at this house when watching night games. Like, I can't go crazy. I got a kid, so I'll wake him up. So it's always funny when things get tight because like I can't like do my usual screaming and jumping around. So it was like a controlled chaos going on over here. But as a kid who went to the 1993 comeback game, stayed the whole time, I never really turn it off. Plus, I feel like I'm trying to do everybody a job by, if someone got hurt, want to get that out too. So, I didn't think we were going to come back, but I was like, no way I'm turning it off.
Right.
And then like a lot of certain little things kind of had to all fall in place at the same time, which kind of feels magical, kind of like a fate train, especially the last home game in the stadium. It always feels like something special's like kind of being written, but we know how they usually end for us. So hopefully someday we'll buck that trend. But
a little bit of high mark fairy dust, fairy dust at the end there.
Yep.
So Thigh Doctor, I know you recently just put a website out. I know you recently did all that stuff. Tell us what you got going on, and then we'll see you out of here.
Oh yeah. Thanks for helping me out with that. To announce it. Yeah, thighdoctor.com. I got a small panel of writers, and they're awesome. There's Jenna and Alex. Jenna's doing game day previews. Alex is doing game day, well, not game day, but game reviews. And I put the injury report out. I like to drop it Saturday morning. I'll write it Friday night after the final report comes out. Obviously, that speeds up on a Thursday coming up. That'll probably come out Thursday morning. And just wanted a place to put some articles. I like kind of going through them is kind of a hobby because it helps me kind of review the injuries and provide the best info to you people.
Is it kind of cathartic for you to be able to put those out too?
Cathartic's a big word. What does that mean? Tedious?
No. Cathartic means kind of like refresh yourself a little bit, kind of like
yes.
Yeah.
It does. It's the end of the week and you're like, kind of like, kind of making a conclusion on your feelings all week. And a little review going into the game. Plus, it's good to look back. The guy gets hurt later in the year. And it's like, I thought I saw him on the report week 2. Let me just pop back that in. And then it's like, yeah, that's what he was dealing with.
And real quickly, last one, it just hit my brain. What do you think about all this stuff about Terrell Bernard being a little bit hesitant, a little bit slow? Do you think that has anything to do with the hamstring from earlier in the year?
He did have the hamstrings in camp, and he had them both taped. Do I think that is what's hampering him? I don't know. But when someone like Evan likes to put that out, sometimes they get like the heads up behind the scenes. Oh, he's dealing with a hamstring, and then they kind of like soft release it, kind of to sound smart. But maybe that's what's bothering him, or I can't imagine that he's having a huge drop off in his career right before us.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a tough matchup. So if they were running stuff that they weren't really prepared for, or calling some poor plays for those plays, I could sure it would make him a step too slow if he had some uncertainty in the game. So you're going to have to need a bigger body of work here to see if he's still struggling. And, you know, that'll come in the immediate future, though, the next 2-3 weeks, and we'll know if he's still a step behind.
Perfect. Well, Thigh Doctor, I want to thank you so much. It's at Thigh Doctor on Twitter, on X. ThighDoctor.com. Definitely check that stuff out. Read that stuff, the game preview, game review, and all the injury reports. Again, thank you so much, Thigh Doctor, and we'll talk to you soon.
No, happy to help, guys.
Thank you,
go
Doctor.
Bills.
Go Bills. All right, so that was the injury report. It was a little bit earlier than I thought, but we definitely got to it. I'm glad we could get that out. We know what's going on this week. So just to kind of touch real quick on a couple of things from the Ravens game. How do you feel that Benford and Strong did against D-Hop and Flowers?
Yeah, I thought Christian Benford and Dorian Strong did a very good job against Zay Flowers. Obviously, Zay Flowers went over 100 receiving yards. He finished with 7 catches, 143 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged 20.4 yards a catch, which obviously is a little high. You don't want to see that. But it felt like overall, especially in the first half, the Ravens had big play after big play. If it was Lamar Jackson using his legs, if it was Zay Flowers, it was, Mark Andrews had a nice few catches. If it's Derrick Henry rushing the ball. But for Dorian Strong and Zay Flowers, I mean, let's just go through it very quick. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but against stated Zay Flowers with the 143. DeAndre Hopkins had 2 for 35 and a touchdown, which the touchdown was
amazing. Like it literally like just shows how good D-Hop still is at those.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say acrobatic catches, but like those contested catches, he's still one of the best in the NFL. Like, and he can't get away from it.
Yeah, and I will say this. I love what Christian Benford said in the locker room after the game. He goes, if we play them again, tell him to do it again. I love that. It's
confidence, and I do appreciate my number one cornerback saying stuff like that. Right. And I will say this, not to get too, because I know we got to move on to the preview for the Jets game. But the Dorian Strong looks like he could potentially be another steal in the 6th round for Brandon Beane.
He does, and you have a perfect mentor in the clubhouse with you. And that's Christian Benford, who was also a 6th round pick out of Villanova, and they're not really known for their football players. They're more known for basketball players, Matt. So having a 6th round pick who just got his 2nd contract and a top 5 corner in the league who was a 6th round pick the same round as you, definitely. We know about all training camp. Dorian Strong staying after practice with Christian Benford. He's showing him the ropes, giving him the little tips and stuff that, that Benford learned from guys like Trey White. And now Trey White's back, a 1st round pick. And Maxwell Harrison, too, who's we're not talking about because he's on the IR, but he's also in that mix getting all that knowledge. But Dorian Strong, I was nervous when I found out he was going to get the nod Sunday night. But with corners and offensive linemen, when you don't hear their name, that's a good thing. And we did not hear Dorian Strong's name called much.
All but once or twice, I think I heard his name.
I think it was once or twice. Yeah. One of them was for a little ticky-tack flag where he pulled to the jersey, which I didn't. Yeah. I thought that was a horrible call. I really did. But guess what? The jersey got pulled. The ref saw it. You got caught. That's what happens. Right.
You saw that Christian Benford did that to Rashad Bateman on the one.
Yep.
White glove on a white jersey. Can't really see it. Let go just in time, and got away from it. Got away with it a little bit there. Even though the ball was, I think, overthrown by a lot. I don't think that Bateman would have even gotten to it. I think it's an uncatchable ball, but that's neither here nor there. But the one thing we did not see until that we talked about, and we said was very, very important that we talked about last week, was getting off the field on third down on the defense.
Yes.
Did not see that. Did not see that until the fourth quarter of this game.
Right. And I will say this: I wish I had more of a breakdown of per quarter. But going off the third down efficiency for Baltimore, they finished 6 for 11 on third downs. Obviously, most of those stops came in the late third quarter, and especially in the fourth quarter. But in the first half, I think the Ravens might have started 5 for 5.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So,
it was crazy how their biggest thing was get off the field and get Josh the ball back.
And they couldn't do it.
That
aggravates me. Yeah. Right. But when I look at it though, I know the Bills had a very, they give up 200 plus yards on the ground. But again, is a rust a factor in this because they did not play? Now you're going up against the league's best rushing attack? Sure. I'm not taking any flowers away from the Ravens, but at the same time, let's be fair to our team as well. It could have been rust. I'm not saying it was. Sure, it was bad. They got to fix it up. But rust could have been a factor. And as the game went on, we got better at stopping the run. So maybe that was a factor. I mean, it's not easy, not playing. Then you're in game action against the league's best rushing attack. That's a lot to ask for.
And one of the things that we talked about last week, we talked about having to sustain drives and end them with kicks. Clearly, It was 41-40. The offense did their job, and they sustained enough drives, and they ended them with kicks, especially with that final drive needing to end in a kick. And I still don't know how Kyle Hamilton did not get a hand on that ball. I do not know. That in itself had a little bit of that Highmark magic on it, man, because it literally the ball literally looked like it had eyes. I'm not gonna lie. It came up, moved, and then came in. Yeah.
It's
go
about
ahead.
time that it's about time that something like that finally went our way. Because it felt like the last few years, going back, I don't even want to say it, but that Denver game, they missed a field goal.
Yeah,
12 men on the field.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we're kind of waiting for that to happen. And it's finally nice, to be on the receiving end of it, where it's kind of like, oh, he almost blocked it, but he didn't.
You want to know something? Bringing that up though, that's the last time the Bills lost at home.
That is the last time they lost home, right? Because then they fired Ken Dorsey, then they played the Jets the following week.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Joe Brady, the rest is history. But to your point about sustaining drives, just very quick talk on the Bills offensively. They had 29 first downs in the game. They went 7 for 15. That's right. Yes, just a little over 50%. Fourth down, they were 1 for 1. They ran 78 total plays, so 29 first downs. And then 34 minutes and 49 seconds of time of possession. So they did a good job, especially, again, in the second half, with staying on the field and sustaining drives. But I will say that offensively, what I want to see from this Bills team moving forward, and I kind of play advocate with myself on this one, because that first drive we come out, we look very good, like we're not missing a beat. Second drive, we come out, we run the ball 3 straight times, 3 and out. I don't know if Joe Brady had too much faith in the defense, where he didn't want to show his hand a little too much. If that's what it was, I don't want to, play hypotheticals, because, like we talked about earlier, it's a hypothetical. Or maybe, he liked what he saw. But you cannot come out and go 3 and out. That's where you go up 14, where, you go up 10. No, you go up 11 or 10. Yeah,
it would have been what? It would have been, because it was 7-3, and then
14-3
it would have been 14-3, would have been 11. Yeah.
Yeah. You keep the crowd rocking, at home. Just keep it going. Because defense had a good stop. They were playing that bend but don't break defense. Ed Oliver sealed the drive, made them settle for a field goal with the sack. Mm-hmm. You had the crowd rocking in it. Just go score again. But I'm sure if it's a playoff game now, I'm glad that was kind of a learning experience, because Joe Brady went through that last year with the trick play. Then now you learn. I'm sure in the playoffs, he's going to stick to what works. He's not going to try switching it up. It's just a little bit of a learning adjustment, first game of the year as well.
So, and this is the last thing I want to talk about with the Ravens game. Two more things. One's would have put money in some people's pockets had they played it. Stupid me. I forgot to play it.
Here's why you suck.
Yeah, no, exactly. But no, and you saw the video come out last night from Be Cool Fool's son. who's going to be putting out some content for us here in the future. But he was talking about Everybody Eats, and we talked about it last week, and you had asked the question specifically, are we going to see more targets to specific playmakers, or are we going to see that everybody eats mentality? So not only are you going to probably get that second and third helping of Everybody Eats moving forward, but you are going to start to see, the coronation, or whatever you want to call it, of Keon Coleman coming out and his coming out party. I mean, what did he have? He had 7. He went
8 catches for 112 with 14 yards per catch with a touchdown, which 7 of those and 95 yards came in the fourth quarter.
And that touchdown that he had, man, that saved the Bills. That 100% saved the Bills.
And that's what we talk about all the time, Matt, is when Josh Allen rolls out right, he is more dangerous than he is when he's inside the pocket. Josh Allen's all script plays. I do want to ask you a question, though. Who do you think that ball was going for? Because I asked Tommy the same question on Thursday. Was that ball going to Knox, Shakir, or Coleman? Because they were all.
It was going to Shakir. You can see.
I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know who it was going to, but I think it was going to Shakir, because you clearly saw it was behind Knox and more on a trajectory of Shakir, and I think it just was too low, and Knox thought it was coming to him, so he tried to go up and make a play on it, tip the ball up, and it right to Keon's hands. So, but maybe that's how they drew it up. Maybe that it was supposed to be
Ben
that
Johnson,
way,
right? So like a little bit like, hey, you're gonna tip it like a fake, kind of like what the Lions did. Oh yeah, just drop the snap. That's
great. Right.
If that was the play, oh yeah, just tip it. Give it the jump ball to Keon Coleman. But yeah, to your point about Everybody Eats. Keon Coleman 8 catches, Khalil Shakir 6 catches, 64 yards, Palmer 5 catches, 61 yards. Which that final catch by Josh Palmer on the final drive, where he's running that crosser to the left sideline, that he runs up a little bit. That's chemistry, man. That's shout out to Josh Allen and the receivers putting in work in training camp after practice, like we saw in Hard Knocks. And that ball was a perfectly thrown ball. But to finish out the receiving stats, James Cook 5 for 58, Dalton Kincaid 4 for 48. Jackson Hall is 1 for 29, which what a laser by Josh Allen. And what an even better catch by Jackson Hall to hang on to it. Dawson Knox 2 for 20, Elijah Moore 1 for 3. Ty Johnson did not have a catch, and Ray Davis went one catch for -1 yards. A little bit of a Reggie Bush stat line in there if it were rushing. But so everybody eats.
And that's really what it comes down to. Is I truly think it is. I think it's a little bit of a better version of Everybody Eats, because you got specific players that are going to be able to. You got specific players that are going to be able to make plays happen. You got Joshua Palmer, who's like we talked about with those 12 to 25 yard intermediate throws that Josh makes, that only a few players in the NFL can actually make. Josh Allen being one of them, Patrick Mahomes being the other.
Yes.
Justin Herbert being another. Then you got Elijah Moore, who's gonna be the under intermediate throws, where your 5 to 12 yard throws, and then even you saw it a little bit on some screens and things like that throughout all the everything else. So and then you got Curtis Samuel probably coming back tomorrow and potentially being active tomorrow. You got Khalil Shakir still, who still had a good game, but he exactly. And then you got James Cook. James Cook out of the backfield is like in itself almost a cheat code, especially on that. Like real quick before we move on, that play call by Josh Allen and the movement he had created and the pre-snap motion and everything that he did on that play to get the look that he wanted to drop it over the top in the bucket to James Cook.
Magnificent.
Amazing. And I cannot believe that James Cook did not get in the end zone on that, but
and what about the one, Matt? That screen, when I talk about James Cook in the backfield, what about that screenplay as well?
Which one?
There was a screenplay where James Cook, it was a screenplay for 51 yards. It was a halfback screen.
Well, that's what I was talking about. That's the play I was talking about.
Okay. When you said buck, I'm kind of like, wait, did he
not in the bucket. Like
now I got you. Yeah,
dropped it up over top. He dropped up over top of Van Noy's arms and everything like that. So
yeah. But with everybody eats though, I mean, I think this receiving core is what we were missing last year in the playoffs. We were missing that guy, that natural separator that we have now in Josh Palmer, and we have a better. I don't want to call Elijah Moore a gadget guy because he's more than a gadget guy. In Elijah Moore, and then another year of Keon Coleman in the system, and him continuing to develop. I just love the what's the word I'm looking for here? The
opportunity,
the ceiling for this wide receiver room that they can.
Got it.
This can be a very good receiving room.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, and kind of going in off of that. The Bills had a couple of players, like we talked about. You and I, we put that together last week in the Do Champions parlay. If you ran with it, it would have won you $122 out of $10 bet. So if you would have bet $10, if you would have bet $100, you would have won $1,200. So, but that's we're not saying what to bet or anything like that. Bet with your bankroll and what you can do. But that was Josh Allen anytime touchdown. That was Derrick Henry over 60 yards, James Cook over 40 yards rushing, Keon Coleman over 2.5 receptions, and Joshua Palmer over 2.5 receptions. And I actually am putting the other one, the Do Champions parlay together right now. So in the meantime, while I'm doing this, let's take a quick sponsor break, and then we'll be back to preview the Jets.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sports book of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, and thank you to all of our great sponsors and everything. We definitely want to thank them for everything that they do for us and everything that we do for them. They're definitely great partnerships within there. But to go into the Do Champions parlay, which it will be posted tomorrow, Pat. We will post this.
Yes.
Yes. This I kind of got a little bit of a spicy one because after last week, Derrick Henry ran all over the Bills. And there was a stat out there that after McDermott gives up a certain number of he's under a certain number the following week or something like that. So I actually have Breece Hall. I have Breece Hall under 60.5 yards. I have James Cook over 50 yards rushing. I have a Dalton Kincaid anytime touchdown. Josh Allen throwing for over 200 yards. And I have Joshua Palmer again going over 2.5 receptions. I mean, if they're going to keep giving me 2.5 receptions for Joshua Palmer at almost plus money, I'm going to put that in every single parlay I possibly can because Josh Allen and him have developed that chemistry together. And it's just, until they stop giving it to me, I'm going to continue to take it. So that one seems almost like a cheat code for free money. So if you wanted to take that separately by itself as a player prop, it's minus 114 right now on FanDuel, and that's something that I would take. I'd put $100 on that, and you'd come away with about $86. So with that being said,
I want to say with Joshua Palmer's MO of being a natural separator and being one of the best guys at getting separation in the NFL all day, and Josh Allen's going to give the ball to the open guy every time. Mm-hmm. So the 2.5 all day.
So thank you again to Thigh Doctor. Check them out, thighdoctor.com, @Thigh Doctor on Twitter. Gives the best up-to-date reports. As you heard from him, he doesn't turn the game off. He watches it all the way through to make sure that everybody stays up to date on the injuries that we need to know about. So we touched on that a little bit. Now, let's see here. With the Bills specifically, against the Jets. So I'm sorry. Let me start again. So the Jets specifically last week against the Steelers. What did you see? Because that was the national game with the Bills being on Sunday Night Football.
Yep.
That was the national game in that 1 o'clock window. So what do we expect to see from the Jets to try and take advantage of this Bills defense?
Yeah, I think what you're going to see with the Jets is a similar game plan from Baltimore, because I've said this since Sunday night, that the Jets looked like a Baltimore Ravens light. And I only say that because they don't have a Lamar Jackson, they don't have a Derrick Henry, but they do have a good rushing attack and they do have a mobile quarterback. What I saw from that game was the Jets enforcing their will, and they were going to run the ball. Aaron Glenn's an old-fashioned head coach. He's going to want to run the football because, obviously when you run a football, good things can happen, and you become more balanced. And that's kind of what you want to. That's kind of what you saw with the Jets. The Jets wanted the Steelers to, play more in the box to open up the play action as well, and they wanted to use Justin Fields' legs. So what I saw from that game was the Jets are not going to go away from running the football. They're going to run the football. They're going to try to play in their style, and if that's with the options with Justin Fields, if that's running Breece Hall or running Braylon Allen on third and manageable, or on the goal line, they're going to do it. And then once you start playing the run, they're going to run play action. Then you got to contain Justin Fields' legs and the pass, the play action pass to Garrett Wilson. So that's what the game plan is.
Real quickly, not saying that past performance is indicative on future outcomes, but what we saw, what happened the last time this Bills defense played against Justin Fields?
Yeah, it was Christmas Eve of 2022 in Chicago. It was that freezing cold game. I don't know if any Bills fans remember that game. Yeah, but yeah, Justin Fields is kind of on a similar team now than what he was with the Bears back then. Good running backs, average offensive line, you could say, and then a number one receiver in DJ Moore. He has Garrett Wilson now. But the stats are Justin Fields went 15 completions he went 23 attempts for 15 completions, 119 passing yards, averaged 5.2 yards a catch. A throw, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Now, here's the kicker. He had 7 rushing attempts for 11 yards. You do a good job at getting mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah, other than Lamar Jackson, Sean McDermott is very good at containing mobile quarterbacks. So, and with that being said, I mean, we do have to touch on a little bit of last year's game too, because we did talk about it earlier on as well. Because we were they lost they have Aaron Glenn as their coach, so
right.
He came from the Lions, and he's now running their quote unquote running their defense. Their defensive style comes from Aaron Glenn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
The last time the Bills went out against that Aaron Glenn defense, Josh Allen was 23 of 34, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns. They won 48-42. I don't think that there's any way that the Jets put up 42 points against the Bills. Do I see the Bills putting up 48 points against this Jets team? Maybe, but I expect it to be a lower scoring game, at least from the Bills side of things. As far as we'll get to the score prediction here in a little bit, but
yeah.
James Cook rushed for 105 yards. Josh Allen himself rushed for 68 yards. Ty Johnson had 9 yards, but Ty Johnson also led the Bills in yards. Not catches, but in receiving yards. He had 114 receiving yards in that game, so he himself ate. And this was truly an everybody eats game. Real quickly, let me read some of these. Let me read some of these off to you. Ty Johnson 5 for 114. Keon Coleman 1 for 64. Dalton Kincaid, 4 for 53. Dawson Knox, 2 for 42. Khalil Shakir, 6 for 39. James Cook, 1 for 28. Ray Davis, 2 for 14. Matt Collins, 1 for 7. And Curtis Samuel, 1 for 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 different players Josh Allen threw the ball to and that made catches. So with Sauce Gardner that popped up on the injury report this week, and their
he's gonna
defense,
play with a full go.
I know. I'm just saying, but him popping up on there,
right?
He might not be fully healthy, because like Student and I always ask each other, hey, when's the best you feel about yourself? It's that first time you get taped in training camp. So we know those bumps and bruises come along as the season goes. So we'll definitely see. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on Sauce Gardner, what happens with him. But I think that the Bills can take advantage of the corners much better than what Aaron Rodgers did, because he did take advantage of a little bit using Calvin Austin. DK Metcalf really didn't get too involved, but that Steelers team, I don't understand how they didn't get a lot of those guys involved more than what they did, but they ended up pulling it out, ended up winning 34-32 in that game. So the other thing that I wanted to ask you real quick, Pat, what things did we see on Sunday Night Football that, because you called the Jets Ravens light, what are some of the things you might see that they tried to do to attack this Bills defense?
Easy. It's going to be, the QB option. And if they can try to replicate what Lamar Jackson does, holding the ball into the final seconds, I think they're going to test the Bills' edges early to see if they're going to hold their lane and hold the contain. And I think that's what the Jets are going to try to do as well. They tried the same thing against Pittsburgh, and it worked pretty well for them then. And after the film that we put out defensively against the Ravens, I'm sure that's what the Jets are going to try to do as well. Because, again, it's a copycat league.
I'm sure it is, but guess what? Just because – what did I just say? Past performance is not indicative on future outcome. So, but in all seriousness, though, it truly, like last week, you can kind of throw out the window for the Bills, because we know how it is. We know what that unicorn that the Ravens offense is, and coming into the Jets are not anywhere near on offense what the Ravens are.
No.
I fully expect this to be probably a 2-score victory by the Bills minimum. I have to do it. I can just throw it out there again. I do it every week. I have to pick against the Bills because it's a little superstition, but I truly, we'll get to that here in a little bit. But so who steps up? We'll get to the safety room in a second, but who steps up while Ed's out?
Easy. I'm going to go to the guy who had a monster preseason against some second and third stringers. And the Jets' offensive line is in shambles right now. They are dealing with some injuries, like Tucker, their right guard. Their guard.
Elijah Barrett Tucker. Yeah, yes, Elijah Barrett.
Yes. Yeah. I always get his name confused. I always think Justin Tucker for some reason. Weird. But, yeah, I'm going to go with the guy who had a monster preseason, and that's Deion Walker. His size, and for him to be able to move like that is crazy. I thought the Bills were going to call up Jordan Phillips, but they did not. They called up Zion Logue, who's also a big body as well. I don't think he'll get much, but I think he's more of an emergency. I think now they'll go with more of that.
But real quick, Pat, I don't mean to interrupt you, but do we think that the not calling up Jordan Phillips is more because Zion Logue's been in training camp and with the Bills since mandatories, all the way through and keeping that, and Jordan Phillips has only had about this much time, and they've been with Logue for this much time? Yeah.
Yeah, like the doctor said, it really, you got to get your feet wet. Yeah, sure, you might be good to go now, but you got to get your feet wet. You got to get your conditioning back. And I think that's what they're doing right now with Jordan Phillips and Jordan Poyer. Knock on wood, an injury in the safety room, they're getting Jordan Phillips, Jordan Poyer's feet wet.
Yeah, we saw the guy that we wanted in Jabril Peppers go sign in Pittsburgh. So who knows?
Yeah.
But kind of leading off of that, the safety room itself. I mean, it was not good. It was not good against the Ravens. Do you think that they have a bounce back game between Bishop and Rapp?
Yeah, I mean, when you go back and you look at it down the stretch last year when it mattered, when both of them are playing, they got the playing time, because right now for Cole Bishop, the most important thing for him is to continue to develop and get playing time, which is something that he has not had. It's the second, training camp where, he's dealt with an injury. He finally got back in that preseason game against Chicago and Tampa Bay. All he needs is playing time. I do expect a bounce back because, again, Sean McDermott and this coaching staff are very good with, developing safeties. They look what they did with Mike Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Not saying Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp are Mike Hyde and Jordan Poyer, but from what we saw last year, yes, I do expect a bounce back.
I am in somewhat of agreement. I think that they do have to have somewhat of a bounce back game. I think Cole Bishop is still trying to again get his feet wet, get his legs under himself, because he is still coming back from injury from training camp and everything like that. And I think that we talked about it. He was probably the best defender on the field against Kansas City last year, and that's one of the bright spots from that Kansas City game. So hopefully, as the season goes on, he gets better and better, and we start to see why they drafted him in the end of the second round.
And they want to trade up for him too.
Yeah, and Taylor Rapp, I hope he continues to grow into this defense as well, and build off of his performance of last year, and not let one game against a very good offense, kind of get in his head and ruin anything that he's done. So with that being said, I want to stick in the secondary real quickly.
Yep.
Who are you playing this week? And I know Thigh Doctor touched on it a little bit, but who are you playing this week, Strong or White?
I was going to say you play Trey White, but I've been playing tennis with this thought for quite some time now. I've been doing it all week. I don't like MetLife. Just the injury aura there. I can't believe I just used the word aura, but I did. But with Trey White, let his first game back be against, be at home, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking, and it just clicked. The last game that Trey White played as a Bill was against Miami at home. His first game back as a Bill could be at home against Miami.
Yeah.
So play him at home. Turf that he's familiar with. I don't like MetLife's field. Like I already said, Dwayne Strong had a good game. Like I said, we only heard his name once or twice, and one of the times was with that ticky-tack call. Of the tug of the jersey. Again, the referee saw it. It is what it is. And with the Jets receiver room, they don't scare me. I mean, Alan Lazard was a healthy scratch last week. They have Garrett Wilson. Obviously, they're going to move him around. The Bills' corners don't follow. So Dwayne Strong will see some of Garrett Wilson. But again, you just went up against DeAndre Hopkins. You just went up against Isaiah Flowers. I know Garrett Wilson's right up there with you. He's better than both of them. But this is a good challenge, and you have a hell of a support room behind you. So I would start Dwayne Strong.
Yeah,
give Trey White another week.
I'm giving Trey White another week, especially with the groin. Maybe he's active, but in dressed, just in case something happens.
Right.
Dorian Strong falls completely on his face, and whatever, and they need Trey White to play. Maybe you have him active, but maybe not starting, maybe not going in there. Maybe he's but I would be okay with him being inactive as well, because he's got to continue to get the feet wet under him. He's got to let him come back and be comfortable at home, playing his first game at home, getting that mental stability underneath himself and everything like that. Play against a team that he knows very, very well in the Dolphins, and in a quarterback that should have retired last year. We won't talk about that this week. We'll wait till next week. But
it's him that he's had success against too.
Yeah,
Miami.
Yeah. So with that being said, we talked about it last week. Same type of thing. Narrative for Josh against the Ravens isn't very good. He kind of put that to bed this week.
Yep.
Do you think with the narrative that he doesn't play very well against the Jets, minus like one game here or there, do you think that he changes that narrative or has done enough to change the narrative against the Ravens that he potentially can stand up and, prove again that he's changing that narrative that he can't play well against the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this, yes, he does have to change the narrative a little bit. Yes, he did change the narrative against the Ravens. So I expect him, I guess we can call this the season of narratives, right? Keep killing these narratives.
Yeah.
Starting with the Baltimore, now it's the Jets. But I will say this, with Joe Brady, Josh Allen has been better against the Jets. Besides that week 1 game when Aaron Rodgers went out, then it kind of looks like Josh Allen felt like he could just do whatever he wanted. It was a weird game. But, the last time the Bills played the Jets was at home, and Josh Allen.
Hey, that was a Ken Dorsey game.
Was that Ken Dorsey? That was right. That year we fired. Oh.
Yep. That was a Ken Dorsey game.
Even better. So if Josh Allen with Joe Brady has been better against the Jets and has not lost against the Jets with Joe Brady.
So
would that be taken? Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I expect him to keep ascending and keeps killing this narrative that the Jets. Yes, Josh Allen does have a bad game against the Jets, but knock on wood, he hasn't yet with Joe Brady. And the last time we went up against the Jets, Josh, they came out playing Gangster's Paradise. You see Josh Allen just lurking and laughing.
Yeah. That was the great meme picture of last
year. We
bring
it back this week.
Yeah. But real quickly, last one before we pivot to the predictions and everything like that. Do we expect to see anything different from Bobby Babich, or does he just throw last week's game out the window and be like, hey, kind of like we're doing, hey, it was a unicorn. Let's continue doing what we're doing and continue to grow, get off the field on third downs, continue to call the game I was calling. Let's build off that fourth quarter and go.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. You throw it out because you can't live in the past. Otherwise you're gonna start dwelling over. You don't want to do that. But at the same time, again, you got to keep that game plan because I believe the Jets are going to try to replicate it to an extent. Now, I believe that Bobby Babich is telling the guys, let's focus out the fourth quarter. Let's look at how we stop that rushing attack in the fourth quarter and base, our game plan off of that. So it's a little bit of both.
So I do agree with you. We're in a little bit of agreement tonight. We've pushed back on each other a little bit here and there, but I mean, for the most part, I would definitely agree with that statement. Is you kind of got to build off the fourth quarter, build off that momentum that was built, even though Ed Oliver is out this game. Build off of it with TJ Sanders, with Daquan Jones, with Deion Walker, with Zion Logue. Let Joey Bosa be Joey Bosa. Let Greg Rousseau, pin his ears back and go get Justin Fields, because they are good against those mobile quarterbacks. I mean, we saw what they did against Kyler Murray week 1 last year. We saw what they did against Justin Fields a couple years ago. We saw what they did against Lamar Jackson in a more important game in the playoffs last year. So there's a lot of things that just let these guys go play. Pin their ears back and let them, play within in sequence, but gotta let them loose a little bit against a quarterback like Justin Fields, because the more you get pressure on him, the more mistakes he's going to end up making. Yeah, he might burn you every once in a while, but you should have enough firepower on offense to overcome that. So
exactly.
With that being said, we do want to thank everybody watching here tonight. We are going to go on to our game predictions and our score predictions. We've been going about an hour and 25 minutes at this point, so we really do appreciate you guys sticking with us. But for myself personally, what I expect to happen, within the game itself, I do expect that they are going to stop the run. I do expect them to stop Breece Hall. I do expect them to stop Braylon Allen. I do expect them to stop Justin Fields. Specifically on defense, I expect them to continue winning the turnover battle, against the Jets. I don't see one bit that they would lose that in any way, shape, or form, because Josh Allen, knock on wood, has been continuing to take care of the ball, has not had a bad interception game since that game 2 years ago to open the season against the Jets. I expect him to continue to take care of the ball. I expect James Cook to continue to grow in his role that he is now. And, again, with that contract under his belt, just continue to continue to get into the kitchen and cook. Let James cook. And as far as the score prediction, I can't do it. I have the Bills 34-17.
No, okay, I'm not even going to say it. But, okay. Yeah, for me, what I expect to see from this game, you basically took everything I was going to say. So another thing we're in agreement on. But yeah, I do expect the Bills to make that turnover, game streak of winning the turnover battle, go to 23, go to 24 now. I do expect to see a team that is just going to come out and prove that why they are the five straight AFC East defending champions for a reason. They're going to come out here and they're going to put the Jets back even further of the AFC East. And you're just going to see, like you said, James Cook continuing to develop in his role. I expect a game from Keon Coleman going up against Brandon Stevens. So I'm looking at that matchup as, continue to build off that fourth quarter seems to be the trend tonight. For the defense, and especially for the offense, continue where you left off. It's just scorching, high completion passes, running the ball well, have good protection. Just overall, a good game. And in my score prediction, I have 31-11 Buffalo.
You know what the other prediction I have?
What?
You know what it's going to be for the New Jersey Jets?
What?
From what got cut from the Browns. Like, no disrespect to the Browns, but if you get cut from the Browns, man, it's probably Toronto Argonauts for you after that. I mean, it's just not many teams worse than that Browns roster.
It's curtains. It's curtains from Whittle, the Almighty. So with that being said, who are you talking to, Pat? Who are we talking to tonight?
I'm going to talk to the New Jersey narrative. Okay. Let's restart that. I'm talking to Dion Dawkins, a guy who is from New Jersey. Take no shit from Nate Clemens and this Jets team. You have posted memes after memes about the Jets and how you said they care more about the fame side of things than actual football. You showed, Stone Cold Steve Austin hitting Jets players, which was your face hitting Jets players. Go out there. This game's going to be chippy. They want to come out and prove, attempt to make a statement. And I know how the Bills feel about the Jets and their arrival. Go out there, take no shit, keep 17 upright. And, if you happen to, get into a shot battle with Nate Clemens, beat their ass on the field and beat their ass on the scoreboard too.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'm talking to the entire defense. You guys got -3 drives in the fourth quarter. You guys got embarrassed. You guys got to come out on fire. And I feel like the one coach from Remember the Titans,
Yep.
If you let them gain another yard, I'm going to take every single one of you guys out of here, and so I feel like that the Bills need to really, buckle down on that side of the ball and have one of their better performances in a long time, and kind of keep the Jets to a very, very minimum. If they get on the scoreboard, they get on the scoreboard, but it's not going to be anywhere near what the Ravens did. They have to be able to do that and continue to call your game, continue to play within sequence and continue to be the Buffalo Bills that we know and love, and chalk up last week as a fluke and show everybody why it was a fluke. Now, this is a fun segment we have on here.
Yep.
So, Pat, go ahead. I know you've been working on one. All night. So I'll let you kind of
all night.
Have a very good one last week. So go ahead and you go.
No, I called Student Unk, and I called you Stone Cold Steve Austin. So yeah, definitely got to work on that. This week I'm going Student. Even though you're not here right now, I know you'll be watching this. Here's why you suck. I know you're not feeling well, but you didn't gut through it. You didn't gut it out with the boys. That's why you suck. And Matt, here's why you suck. You suck for not placing the same game parlay last week. I hope you don't make that mistake again. Otherwise, we'll be back here next week. I might have the same. Here's why you suck.
Yeah, so here's why you suck, Pat.
Yep.
You missed last week with your Gridiron Gang. You didn't play that last week.
Yeah.
You've been at work all week this week, and you're probably going to miss again this week. So when are you actually going to win some football games on Xbox, man?
PlayStation. That's another reason why you suck. Also, War 2025. Ridiculous. Yeah, I will be back next week doing it. I'm gonna do it next week. I've been working on my ultimate team in the free time, gotten the team up a little bit. So finally we can start playing some ultimate team games and not just online head-to-head, which I know we have a good record in, but we'll be back at it next week.
Yep. So, and we want to thank everybody for watching tonight. We've had a lot of fun here tonight talking about the Ravens, breaking that down, talking to Thigh Doctor. Definitely go back and watch that for any injury updates. And then talking about what we think is going to happen with the Jets. Definitely tomorrow, check out the post game. It'll probably be myself and Pat. Tomorrow, breaking down the game tomorrow, right after the game. If Student is not available, if he is, it'll probably be all three of us from Third and Manageable. Yep. Monday night, you got the Combat Zone with Alex, and Randall. You got on Wednesday nights, you got Whittle and Brian Beyond 716 with Coast to Coast. Next Thursday, it is going to Tommy. Tommy will be up here. So he'll be in Buffalo, watch the Miami game. So it'll probably be me helping out Pat if I can get away. We'll see what happens.
Yes, maybe it's Beyond.
Maybe it's Beyond. Maybe it's Beyond. Maybe it's Whittle. Maybe it's somebody.
Maybe it's Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen hops on before he beats his kids. You know. Yeah, and that was a complete pun and meant to happen. But in all seriousness, Pat with the Buffalo Canvas next week, and then Chase and Data on Friday, and then we'll be back here next Saturday, hopefully with Student joining us. And with that being said, hey, Pat,
good to be seen.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollos, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Dew Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Dew Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Dew Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.